Interesting atheist paladin. Yes, good morning. It's Saturday morning where I am. I'm doing a code sprint. I'm trying to get a whole Android application done in a single weekend that I want to do. But that means taking some breaks. And I was here designing some stuff, and I was listening to your video. All right. Well, yes, I take philosophy like programming. We're making programs, right? Now, if I make a program that's called a morality, it's supposed to be something that satisfies the specifications required of a morality. But it could be redesigned, to version 8.20,000, So I propose that morality doesn't have to have an ambiguous definition. It can be straightened up a bit. All right. So I think morality is a way of deciding how you should treat members of a group that you are a part of. So in order to make a moral decision, you have to be able to visualize the other entity, which is a part of the moral question, as a part of a group that you belong to. If you can't do that, then you cannot make a moral decision. Now, groups can have different roles and types of things. So, for example, let's say I want to make moral decisions about inanimate objects, how I'm going to treat rocks. You could be simple-minded and go, well, I would never, I wouldn't want the rock to crush me, and so I can't crush the rock. Well, no, because there's a more subtle issue here of intentionality, right? You don't want the rock to intentionally crush you. If it crushes you because you're moving it around and it rolls over you, the rock did not do anything immoral because that was your fault. Or even if an earthquake happens, it was the earthquake. It was not the rock. The rock does not intentionally. And morality involves intention because we're trying to talk about actions. And that's another thing that confuses people about morality is they want to talk about should, the whole is-ought thing and blah, blah, blah. What should be done? What's right? What's the answer of right? As if they wait for the answer of perfect right before they act. No, the question of morality is what actions are you going to take? Right? Okay. So the morality can be, like my family, the morality as a parent. It's my job to protect my children. If somebody attacks my children, a moral response has to be that I do something against the other person. So it's a matter of what action I'm going to take. Now, maybe the other person is harming my children for their own survival. Well, morally, I understand that when I think from their perspective. But I am me, so I'm going to act from my perspective. Now, if I want to think, well, yeah, but that's still a person, he's a fellow citizen of mine, well, then I think about the morality of how you deal with people that violate some element of the morality. How do you treat them in jail? And you can have moralities about that. You can have taken their freedom. Of course, once again, it has to be reciprocal. Since you're a part of that group, if you advocate taking the freedom from them on a particular reason, if you were to do the same thing, you would have your freedom taken. And that's where the so-called fairness or the balance of these equations comes from. And none of this becomes subjective because it's subjective, your perspective on all of the elements of this, which groups you're a part of, where you divide yourself. These are and all the perceptions that you have that you're using to make your judgments on. You don't even have full information. So that's all subjective. But the reason, what people are going for when they say, but there is a reason, it's got to be, well, it is right, we got to have a reason. Yeah, there are material reasons, and they're drawn from the needs of survival of whatever the group that's whatever the scale of the morality, however large, and whatever the character is of the group within which the morality is being considered. So I think this sorts it out really quite nicely, and it also relates to a material concept of enlightenment, which is the ability to take a greater and greater group, to see yourself as a greater and greater part of the universe. And I think the strength of it is that it does always break down. If you force, like, somebody could have this, they're so meditated, they feel like one with the universe, they have moral actions with the entire universe. If you come and threaten that person's village, so that that person has to say, listen, we're all going to get killed unless we all stand up, then that person is going to be reduced to a morality the size of their village. That universal size morality, if that's even possible, would have to break down for survival. And sometimes someone might say, no, I'm not giving it up. The village can just go. We'll all die. But you can't expect that. I don't even think that's a particularly moral decision, because you will have violated the morality of how you think this group should be treated, which is that you should all help protect each other and help each other survive. So when conflicts come down, you have to reduce your morality down. And so this is a strength of this kind of system, because it explains why this happens. Why we understand if somebody steals food for their children, I still think stealing is an immoral act overall in that social group. But within his more narrow thing, he had to help his children to survive. But on my side, he's stealing food from my children, perhaps. So these are real conflicts. Moralities that pretend that there is no such thing as a real conflict, it's all due to immorality or doing the wrong thing. It's like, if you don't do what should be done, that's all maladies come from that. No, there's survival. And sometimes survivals come in conflict. And so the spheres that you can really consider in a particular problem become limited. And we analyze problems this way. What we can do is reduce the nature of those conflicts, reduce the requirement that people reduce their morality. That's the whole thing of having police, because then you can keep your national morality of how we should all treat each other as free citizens, and when somebody breaks that, instead of you breaking your own morality and say killing that person, or breaking your own morality and kidnapping them and putting them in your basement, arresting them fully as a citizen, which is a terrible thing for you to have to do, and it involves you breaking your wider morality in order to protect yourself and your more narrow morality. By having a system of doing that, and other people take them, and then they have a chance to get free again and to rehabilitate and be treated with treated morally, then you as an individual don't have to break your morality. You can keep it more broad. And this is what we're going for with lots of social infrastructure. The ability to not get narrowed down into us versus them, clan warfare. Without a social system, things break down into these family units, which naturally glob into extended family structures, which is basically what a clan is. And so you have this feudalistic clan warfare. If you don't get to the picture where, that clan is, I'm part of the same, that clan and my clan are part of a larger group of clans, and then they can all cooperate. And then the only conflict you have left, if you had moralities like that, are real ones, where there's 10 clans and there's only enough food for 4, there's been enough famine. Okay, then there's a real conflict. There's a chance to ration and share that. But if that's not going to work out, and then it might break down into old style fight for survival. That's what happens if there's an economic collapse of that kind of crisis level. Very hard to keep that away. You try to use your morality to keep it away. I think it's good to have a morality that can explain why it gets defeated, why it fails to apply in some cases. But I don't know the person you're replying to, by the way. This is just a reply to your video.